as the vaccination debate heats up, a new study found that internet commenters are key in swaying the masses. So a study out of Washington State University found that people tend to be persuaded less by credible pro- and anti-vaccination information published online than by individual users who hang around in comment threads. So how did they find this out? The study subjects were shown two mock public service announcements, one that purported to be a pro-vaccination message sponsored by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the other an anti-vaccination message from the National Vaccine Information Center. They were then shown a series of fictitious online comments that appeared to be in response to the official messages. After reviewing the PSAs and comments, the participants completed a questionnaire about their opinions on vaccination. The researchers found that the participants were as persuaded by the commenters as they were by the PSAs, even though they had no knowledge of commenters' background or expertise.
This is an incredibly scary story for America.
Right.
For all the things that we talk about all the time about science, lack of trust of government, the new world that we live in, the digital world, Twitter and YouTube, and we're doing this on YouTube comments right now, right? This is incredibly scary that people could get facts from scientists relayed by hopefully professional people, and that we all do this. We all look in the comment thing, but that you would then trust those people more. I've been saying it a lot lately, but on my show, I'm really proud of the audience that we've built because everyone is pretty on point when it comes to the topics. It doesn't devolve into this like trolling madness, but so much of what's going on online is that. So if you're going to trust that those people, most of whom think everyone's Nazis and hate gay people and every other incarnation of craziness, I mean, this is seriously, legitimately scary, especially when it comes to vaccines.
Yeah. I mean, that's. You would hope that on an issue where people, it's almost impossible that they have any personal knowledge about vaccination, like they didn't study it or whatever. In that case, it should be your job to either research it and actually find out from people who know, or to defer to the actual authorities. The fact that they would not only be incurious about actually learning about it, but that they would also be willing to just trust someone who probably emotionally appeals to what they already kind of believed. Maybe they like that the person's fired up or something like that. That does not say anything good about humanity.
No, not at all. Especially when they did kind of the follow-up saying they gave the commenters like characters, and they said like one was a student of literature, one was a healthcare lobbyist, and one was a doctor, and they compared those responses to the PSAs. And they believed the doctor who they had no proof that he was a doctor. You know what I mean? He's just like, I'm a doctor, you should not, or you should get your kids vaccinated, more than they would believe the PSAs. That's insane.
Yeah.
First of all, if you're reading the comments and getting your information from the comments anyway, that's another issue from itself. But I mean, the fact that you would then go on and like use that to inform the rest of your life decisions is scary.
Yeah, especially when it doesn't necessarily deal with your health going forward, but you're talking about your children there.
Yeah.
Like you should want the absolute best information. Like the job of a parent is to protect their children. The fact that you would be willing to just, Joe Blow 79 said I don't need to do it, so the little tyke can just sit there.
You know what's interesting about this is that this goes to show the distrust of our mainstream media, which I do think is a good thing generally. Of course, our mainstream media is pretty terrible. So that means when they give information, something that's based in science like vaccines, the science is conclusive on this, that you should do it. But that when they do that, people are so afraid to follow what they're saying that then they would just look underneath and somebody could fake being a doctor or fake being anything, that they're still like, that's I guess the inherent flaw, and it's the biggest failure of the media, is that people trust them so little that they would actually rather trust a completely anonymous person that just happens to have a computer. Pretty much.
And I think that's a really great point, because when you think about the PSAs that are out there now, it's like a bunch of celebrities who are like, the more you know. Like, obviously, that's not going to convince you. So where else are you going to get your information? You're either going to get it from, people who you, I guess, trust on the internet, or, WebMD, I don't know.
Yeah, Wikipedia. So I think maybe a natural consequence of this, or at least I think it's an interesting discussion to have, the news organizations that put out information, that post the results of interviews, or they talk about vaccination or something like that, should they take from this that they now have a responsibility to either moderate the comments, perhaps censor certain comments, not have comments. I mean, if you're the New York Times and you post something that proves that vaccination is a good thing, and then you allow people to go into your comment section and possibly sway people in the other direction, why would you do that as a news organization?
But I mean, I would always veer on freedom of expression. You have a comment section, like you got to hope that people aren't idiots. So I wouldn't.
But some are choosing to not even have a comment section. There have been certain blogs that have just shut it down.
Right. So I think there's ways to mitigate that a little bit. I think Huffington Post now, instead of using like a total anonymous comment system, it's linked to Facebook now. So generally, you're going to weed out a lot of the totally crazy ones because usually Facebook is less anonymous. So there's ways to deal with that. But I would always veer on the side of more expression, even in times like this when it's completely nuts.